Hello everyone, I hope you're ready for a couple Junky and Dark and Moody projects. Let's go ahead and jump in with project number 1. This first project is a vase / planter. I'm assuming you could use it for either. I've had this in my stash for a little while. I did thrift this for $4 and I love the shape of it and it's going to work perfect for this project. We're going to go ahead and give this a coat of black chalk paint. Once I let that dry, then I will give it a clear coat of that matte RUSTOLEUM clear finish. We need a clear coat because of what we're going to do with this. For this next step, I'm going to be using DIY crinoline clay paint. And I'm going to put some of this out and use a roller and roller over this stamp. This is one of the distressing stamps from IOD. And I just want to put some of this in the background here and there. Now it's quite bright, but we will tone that back a little bit later. And I go ahead and do both of the flat sides, as like I said, just for some of the background. To start out, I'm going to be using this new 2025 Spring Velveteen stamp set. It's a smaller stamp set that IOD released. I had to have this. You all love to mask so much. And really it just fits with any type of decor. So we're going to be using this and I'm going to do different layers. I'm going to start out with the same color of paint, rolling it on one of these designs and then just kind of randomly placing it on different areas. Putting some of the full stamp and then parts of it coming off of the piece just to kind of make it look like it's a continuing pattern. Once we finish with this color, I'm going to go ahead and use the new Blood Moon color by DIY. If you're looking for any of these types of products, you can use my link below in the description box. It is Aunt Bee's Attic. I do get a small percent to help pay towards these videos. Well, it's actually just products that I get in exchange. But yeah, if you want to use that in the description box below, that'd be great. And thank you to those who have purchased through Aunt Bee's Attic. It did help me get quite a few of these new products to help make my videos. So thank you. Now we're just going to stamp that Blood Moon color right over top of these that I've already stamped. But what I'm going to do is offset them a little bit. In other words, I'm going to not stamp directly over, but kind of to the side or kind of down below, just so that we can still have some of that cream color come through and the purple. I will do the other side, but I'm just doing that off camera. Now the last color we're going to use with this stamp is this liquid patina golden ticket. I wanted to add a little bit of this gold because I think it looks really vintage to tone back some of that purple and some of the cream. And I'm just going to do the same process, offsetting it on each one of these. I can't wait to show you all. There's a couple other projects in this video that was so much fun. I can't wait till you guys see them. Okay, so the next step we're going to do for these, because we're definitely not done, is I'm going to use this new Wild Bloomin', which that's how I'm saying it. I'm sure it's pronounced differently, but I'm not going to try my French accent today like I normally do. But I'm just going to use some of these birds, and I think I might use some flowers from another one of the transfers in this release, but we'll wait and see. Now, if you've never used transfers, you just lay them down, rub the plastic until the piece comes off as you're pulling the plastic. And then you can either take your hand and rub them a little bit to make sure they're pressed down good, or the back of the plastic topper. I just want to say, IOD, I don't know what you did to this set, but they just come off like a dream. You hardly have to do anything to these things. It's amazing. I'm going to use this Countryside Memories or Memoirs stamp. If I had to pick, well, we'll talk about that in a minute, but I use it and I use my, this is an older retired IOD, it's for the knobs stamp, because I wanted something that was circular to go on these little circular places, and I picked out this little wreath and put just a gold wreath that has a little bow on the bottom. This piece is kind of regal looking, even though it's dark and moody and a little, you know, rustic looking with that background. It just, the shape of it really is just gorgeous. So I knew I needed those circular pieces. Anyways, if I had to pick one of the stamps to get, the small stamps, of course I love the velveteen stamp because I love damask so much. But this Countryside Memoirs is gorgeous. And the thing about it is, these pieces are so tiny. And look at how I'm just using it on all these little edges. And there's so many different little ones. I would say get this one. Now, these little stamps are $38, but you get 4 sets, like 4 pages in this kit. So it's a lot of stamps. And look at that bow. Isn't that just gorgeous? Now, I just randomly put that bow somewhere, no rhyme or reason. And then I'm taking this other one. We're going to use it on the bottom. And I'm going to use it centered. And then I'm going to use those little ribbons that's swirling out to kind of extend it. So don't forget, you can use your stamps in so many ways, in so many different aspects. Now I'm taking this gold again to trim out the rest of this just with a brush. And I'm just being haphazardly. Nothing has to be perfect on here. This is handmade. I want it to look handmade. I want it to look like it's been, you know, used and not came stamped from a factory. You know, I don't have any problems with those looks, but that's not what I want for this one. And I'm just taking that, trimming everything out, and I finish this piece off with some clear wax because I want to put some dark wax on it. And I actually use Dixie Belle Black Best Dang Wax to tone back a lot of that bright. I make sure when I'm rubbing some of the black back that I rub a little bit over my birds because I want them to still stay their color. You can always rub extra wax off of certain areas and leave it on certain areas. I hope you guys have enjoyed this one. You'll get to see both sides coming up in the photos. Let me know what you think. My 2 favorite stamps, little stamps, is the Velveteen stamp and then this Countryside Memoir stamp. Project number 2. Oh my gosh, I had so much fun making this. I have had several of these in my stash for a while. We've actually made some of these over on this channel. This one we're going to do a little bit different. Now I had to clean this because it was very nasty. I'm showing you, we are pulling out a few bluish greens and blue paints. And I do add a couple other colors coming up. So just grab out some of your favorite junk pieces you've collected, some of your favorite paints, and get started. I start giving this a little bit of base coat of the lighter blue, and then I just start adding some of the other colors in, kind of giving it sort of a marbling effect, you know, like there's just random colors of blue here and there to get the look that I want. Remember, when you do projects like this, just to have fun with it and let the ideas flow. As soon as I started using these, I knew I needed to add a couple darker colors. So I grabbed this new Electrified by DIY. I love that color and the water, open walk on water. And it just brought this piece together. Once I got those colors on there, I let this dry because now the magic begins. I'm starting off with this old earring and covering up this little hole, but because it looks like a shell, the color, it's gorgeous. And I sand around that, and I sand a little bit on the earring because it's plastic, and I want to make sure my E6000 makes good contact, and it will if it's a little bit rougher surface. I add a little bit of hot glue just for temporary hold. And I grabbed one of my gorgeous brooches, and this is a beautiful seahorse. Now this is just a cheap brooch. It's nothing expensive. I think I paid a couple of dollars for this off of, it might have been Temu. If it wasn't that, it was probably AliExpress or something. I've had this for a while, but I'm going to go ahead and cut all the makings of the pin off the back because we need this to be a flatter surface. I missed where I got the cogwheel glued. It's a metal cogwheel glued behind this. And then I also missed where I used the glue on the seahorse, but it's the same process. I'm using the E6000 and in some places just a touch of hot glue. The next piece I add is this old green water, or I guess it's from a spigot or something, faucet knob. I had purchased a lot of these at one time, and I kept the kind of lightweight ones, and of course put the rest of them in my booth to sell. But I'm adding this because I thought the green would work perfect, and it had a lot of paint chipped off of it, and that's fine. This is made up of a lot of different pieces. Some look new, some look old. This piece, I have 4 of these. I don't know what they're for, but I kept them, and it looks like it's from like the 60s or 70s. It came out of an old house that we bought. If you guys know what these are for, let me know. I have looked and looked and never could find out, but I add just E6000 to this, and I'm just going to lay it kind of where it falls in those spaces on this water spigot knob or faucet knob. Isn't that just cute? I just thought that looked so cute, that blue and then that green. And now I'm just going to add different pieces to sort of, I guess, enhance the colors of the paint. I had this fish. It's got little fake pearls inside of it. And I cut off the, it's meant for a necklace or something. I cut that off, and I started to E6000 glue this on, but I just knew that it wouldn't stay, and you'll see what we do coming up. Now this is just another cheap brooch that I got from like, I think this was Joann's when they're like having their 40 or 50% off their jewelry. And I cut the loop off of this again and kind of lay this sideways. And I have this part of a necklace, and I thought this would look really cool draped across this. So I just add this in with some of my wire that I had in my stash, which this was not good wire because it was so stiff it was hard to bend, but I did twist it together and then make, I think I don't show it, but I redid this to where I didn't leave a loop at the top, and I'll tell you about that here coming up. And once I got that added, I did add the wire to the fish at the bottom. It's not cut off yet. You'll see. I don't want to flip this over because everything's drying. And then I add another piece of broken jewelry. I use a button underneath of it because a lot of these jewelry pieces have like a hole. Not a hole, but just a gap. So I just used a button to fill in the gap so that it would make good contact with the, and I'm sorry you can't see all of that off camera, so that the button will then be able to be glued to the piece. It made it flush. So you can always fill in those gaps with stuff. And it was a similar color, so it won't be noticeable. And I think that was the last part of this. I am going to go back in and add a hanger at the top with just some more of that silver wire. Let me know what you all think of this one. I forgot I did add some of my waxes to this in the blues and the greens. Project number 3. This one was so easy and really so satisfying. So I grabbed this apothecary paint. It's very thick. It's one of my older paints. And I'm using this terracotta clay pot, which I love and want to make sure that this project still shows that it is a terracotta pot. So I just put a coat lightly of this going side to side, and then I go up and down as well. I want it to be thick. I want it to have a lot of brush strokes, and I want you to still see some of the clay pot. Once I got enough paint on there like I liked it, I did take a baby wipe and clean around the top of the rim a little bit and rub back through some of the paint to bring more of the pot back through. Once I got the paint how I wanted it, I let that dry. And then we're going to use the pastiche stamp by IOD. Also, some of this gorgeous elegant teal, which is very dark and moody. I thought it would look wonderful over this apothecary, very muted minty color. And what I'm doing now is rolling out some of that to use on my stamps. Now the pastiche stamp has the birds and cloches, and I have definitely not used it enough. So I'm going to start out with the birds on the branch and just use some different stamps to go around the whole pot, including a bird's nest, some of the flowers, the butterfly. Doesn't that color just look gorgeous? Now, I don't show you all of the stamping, but I do go all the way around, and I will give you a preview before the photos. I do use that Countryside Memoir stamp to make the border on this. Again, I can't say enough about that little stamp, and I just love how this turned out. Now, I go ahead and put a clear coat of matte clear coat on this. This was so easy and a really, really quick project. Let me know what you think about this one. Project number 4, I'm using this new Chesler paint. It's like a blue, but it's not that bright that it's showing. And I just opened it, so I just raked all of the paint off of that little seal to use up everything. And I'm making over this book holder, iPad holder, and I'm going to go ahead and give it 2 coats of this. Now this one's going to be really quick and really easy. I'm giving it 2 coats of this Chesler paint. I'm going to let it dry, and then we're going to make this over for someone pretty particular. So I'm grabbing out my Bugs Transfer. This is from the Mio's Pages of IOD. Every time I put this on something, it sells in my vendor booth, so I have no doubt someone will love this. Now this came in a large page and it was way too big, so I cut it kind of in pieces, and I was able to patch the right side and leave some of the center bugs out, if that makes sense. So I just went ahead and got this one side done, and I used my hand to kind of make sure they were rubbed in really well. And because this does have striping divots in it, like it's wood slats, I grabbed a letter opener that I had in my drawer and just kind of went between each piece. And then I think off camera I took a toothbrush and kind of got all the extra stuff that got in the crevices out. Went ahead and done the other side, which I did have to piece some bugs in there. Once I got that done, then I gave this a good clear coat of matte clear finish, and this piece was done. And I did paint the back of this the same color. I love how this turned out. It was very simple and an upcycle that will sell really quickly in my booth compared to how it was just kind of like a generic Hobby Lobby piece. And I did sand around the edges a little bit. I forgot about that part. Let me know if you like this one. Project number 5. Now this is another Junky one. We're going to do a similar one to that we did earlier. I'm using this Wellington all-in-one paint for this one. I'm going to give it just 1 coat because we're going to do something else on top of this paint. Once that dried, I went ahead and grabbed this zinc. It's just a generic metallics paint by Deco Arts, I think, and I gave this just 1 good coat over top of that. I wanted to give this a good metallic look, but it's a very soft metallic. I wanted to shadow around this, so I grabbed my black wax out and just went around the edges. I wiped that back a little bit, and now we're just going to add some of my junk that I pulled out. I have this really old silver brooch. I grabbed my nippers and got the back of that pin off. I'm going to use my E6000, and we're going to glue this right over top of that hole. I'm going to grab this beautiful, cheap peacock brooch. I've had this in my stash for a very long time, and some of these are actually just generic pieces I bought for myself just to wear years ago, and we're going to do the same thing. We're just going to glue this on top of that brooch. It just gives that peacock such a beautiful look, having that silver halo kind of behind it. plus fills in the hole. Now I could have also used something to cover the hole and then put the brooch on top. So really it just depends what look you want. All right, once we got our little peacock down, now I don't do everything that I did to this on camera, but I'm showing you the largest part of it. I had this knob and I used some E6000 and put that in there. Ultimately, someone could use this as a hanger to hang like a necklace off of, same as the other piece. I had this broken watch. I just used E6000, added that. These are some more broken pieces of jewelry. I still need to add a hanger to this one. I went ahead and took photos so I could get this video out. Let me know if you like this one as well. If you have enjoyed this video so far, go ahead and give me a like. Subscribe if you're not subscribed to my channel. I would really appreciate it. Comment below if you want to let me know how much you like the projects or anything you'd like to see in the future or any kind of questions you might have. Project number 6. This is another really easy one. I've got this wood tray, again, another piece I've had for a while. I have not been thrifting for a long time. You guys, it's probably been at least a month, if not 2. I have been to a couple places, but mostly with like my son and not specifically just for me to go thrifting because I have plenty of things at home that I need to be going through. Now I have just put a good coat of Mod Podge on here and I'm grabbing this beautiful RESIN, it's like vintage wood printer numbers and letters, and I'm taking some saran wrap and just smoothing that out really well on top of that Mod Podge until I get it the way that I want it. Now there is a few wrinkles, but that's okay. Once I get it the way that I want it, I'm going to let this dry. And once we let it dry, then I'm going to come back and we're going to use a little finger sander to sand all these edges off. Once we get those edges off, because this is wood and I want you to be able to see the rim that's wood and the bottom is wood, I'm just going to take some clear matte sealer and go over this. I did use some black wax around the edges just to color the papers where I used the sandpaper and to tone that back just a little bit. This was such an easy upcycle. If you enjoyed this video of junk, a little bit of junk and some dark and moody, and you stayed until the end, type the word Moody or leave me an M to let me know you stayed until the end. Thank you so much, and I will see you all in the next video.